So I've got into all the reasons why Melbourne is the best possible place to buy, but I think it's really important to describe the best areas to buy. And the reason for being so is because these areas have done much better than the average. Now, Melbourne on average, as I've said before and have shown, has done about 8% or maybe 8.1 if you want to really narrow it down. But there are areas in Melbourne and quite a few areas that have actually done 9.5 to 10% or sometimes even slightly more capital growth. Now, primarily, these are literally the only areas I buy in Melbourne, so I'm going to get into that. And the reason being so is if you have money, you want to park it in the best area anyway. Now, look, you are going to need a minimum of about $800,000 here, and I'm sorry for people that don't have that. Now, look, if you don't have that, check out my videos in Geelong or reach out about Geelong because you can buy for much less than that and you'll still get very good capital growth. But let's just start with my favourite one, and that is the inner west of Melbourne. It's one of the primary regions of Melbourne I like buying in. And the reason being so is because it's the cheapest, you have the best yield out of all of them, and you have some of the best capital growth in all of Melbourne. So where am I talking about? Yarraville, Seddon, Kingsville, Footscray, West Footscray, Spotswood, Newport, Williamstown. It's mainly your Maribyrnong and your Hobsons Bay Council regions. If you want a little bit more land, Maidstone, maybe even in Braybrook. Those are two other good ones also to buy. Now, these areas, you talk to older people, would have a stigma about them, but who gives a shit about a broke older person or someone broke who doesn't know what they're talking about? Who cares about what they say, right? No one gives a crap. You're in it to make money. You're in it to change your future here, all right? That's the reason we're in this, okay? Now, these areas also have some of the highest median income of Melbourne. So, I mean, Yarraville has literally $2,500 a week median household weekly income. That's higher than some parts of the inner east. I mean, the inner city and even the Bayside. So people don't know that. It's got higher income than that. So that's the reason these areas are gentrifying. Incredible locations to buy. I've got literally 3.8 to even 4.2, 4.3% yield here before on a suburb that does nearly 10% capital growth. So inner west, great area to buy. It suits investors, owner occupiers and developers, suits everyone, even with relatively low budgets. My favourite area to buy in Melbourne. My second, probably the inner east of Melbourne. Now, where am I talking about? It's probably no further out than I'd say Blackburn to Burwood, right down to the sort of Malvern, Ashburton boundary, right up to kind of your Doncaster boundary, right across to sort of Ball and North Q East, that area. That's what I'm talking about. Now, it looks a lot like this, so suburbs like this in Camberwell, tree-lined streets, beautiful, similar to the inner north of Brisbane, your Hamilton, Ascot, Clayfield, your North Shore of Sydney, very similar to that. Generally bigger blocks, generally your period homes, your larger homes as well, sometimes even on acre blocks, often quarter acre blocks. Quite an expensive area though. I mean, you're probably going to need minimum 1.4 to 1.75 million for this kind of area, so it's not going to suit everyone. Who it suits is owner occupiers who have families. Great area for schools, very prestigious private schools here. Great access to city, great lifestyle. Also, if you like tree-lined streets and greenery, very beautiful for that. It suits developers because some of these suburbs still do have quite, I'd say, development pro stock. It's quite good for that. And it also suits you, say, your wealthier investors. So especially if you're like a higher end professional, doctor, surgeon, lawyer, accountant, business owner, you might even be a tradie, for example. I know plenty of tradies who earn more than doctors, to give you an idea. But good for them if you want to eat up a lot of your tax. You might, for example, have a two to 2.5, maybe more borrowing capacity. You might want to buy a couple of properties. The first one you want to buy, let's say $1.5 million or something like that. Eat up a bit of that, your actual tax you're paying if you're on the top tax bracket. The next ones you buy maybe companies or trusts or something like that. That might be your strategy. So good for people like that. Good suburbs. I mean, Box Hill, Mont Albert North, Hawthorn East, all really good. Q East is good. Ashburton. I mean, some of these suburbs here I've just mentioned have done nothing, especially somewhere like Box Hill for like 7 or 8 years. Similar to the inner west as well. The suburbs there have done nothing for 7 or 8 years. It's similar to somewhere like, Yarraville, West Footscray there. Braybrook's another one. Even Newport as well. Here, as I said, Box Hill's a good example. Done nothing for 7, 8 years. All of those suburbs I mentioned have pretty much had long-term growth of 9.5%. Right up to even higher. I mean, Kingsville in the inner west has done 10.4. I think Box Hill's done 10.1 or 10.2%. So very, very good suburbs and that great areas to buy. Another area, inner south / southeast. This area alone, to give you an idea, Great area to buy. Where I'm talking about is probably no further south than I'd say Caulfield South, right across to probably Elwood. That's probably your boundary of it, right up, sort of follow the Monash Freeway along Malvern there, right up to Kooyong, and then right across to Port Melbourne, south of the Yarra River. So this is a really good area here as well. The good thing about this is you can have varying budgets, right from about $1 million right up to, about 1.5, 1.6. Does suit. Now, you can obviously go higher than that if you have more money. So, and this will suit everyone. Look, developers do need a lot more money. That you probably need at least, I'd say, 2 to 2.5 million for a developer. Some do have that, so I'm not excluding you. But great for investors. Great for also owner occupiers. Great area to live near the water, near the city, near all the good schools. Excellent area to live. Very high incomes in also close proximity to all the job hubs near here too. Suburbs that have done very poorly in recency, but very well over the long term. Port Melbourne, Windsor, Brohan, South Yarra is another one. Balaclava is an excellent example. St Kilda East is another one. 9.5 to 10% plus capital growth here. Sometimes even more in the streets. Albert Park's another one, but it is more expensive. All really good. I mean, I've had investors buy properties here with nearly 4% yield, even in Prahan and, should I say, Balaclava here. Great areas to buy. Long term, if you're very wealthy and you're an owner occupier, I mean, somewhere like Albert Park, Port Melbourne, Albert Park has the highest price per square metre in all of Melbourne. So it is literally one of the best places to buy in the country. Port Melbourne is also one of the best in the whole entire country. And those areas are like 2.5 to 3K from the CBD. South Melbourne's another one that's like 1.5 to 2 from the CBD. Very hard to find one there that's relatively decently priced though. But these areas are pretty much your best lifestyle areas in all of Melbourne. I don't see how you can do wrong. You're in like the Monaco of Melbourne. That's the way I describe it. So, really good area here. One of my favourite in all of Melbourne. Yes, you need more money, but great area to buy, as well. My last primary area is your inner city / inner north. So it basically takes your northern end of the Yarra boundary right up to about Alphington, straight across pretty much to, I'd say, about Aberfeldy, then right down the eastern side of the Maribyrnong River. So it's your Kensington, Flemington, right down into the CBD there. So these areas, don't get me, yes, developers can buy here, but probably a little bit better for your investor and owner occupier. And it's simply because the lots are tiny here and the development stock is so scarce that when it comes on market, generally, I kid you not, it'll sell for like minimum 2 to 2.5, often more than that, often over like $3 million or more because it's so scarce. But your smaller lot properties are great for owner occupiers who like a sort of inner city lifestyle, great for investors who, love, should I say, longer term capital growth and decent yield. I've got even properties here to yield literally like 3.5 to 4.1%, which is insane numbers. Suburbs here that I really like: Cremorne, Richmond, Collingwood, Fitzroy North, Clifton Hill, all really good. Brunswick East is great. Aberfeldy is really good. Some parts of Essendon, some parts of Flemington, Kensington, all really good suburbs. 9.5 to 10% growth, like long term. And I've done nothing for depending on the suburbs, 6 to about 8 years, right? Now, to give you an idea, Cremorne, for example, has the second highest median income in all of Melbourne, second to Kooyong, which it neighbours straight across the Yarra, right? Now, because of this and it's done nothing, look at the opportunity you have to buy it. It's like $1.3 million at the moment, and it's one of the best suburbs in all of Melbourne. It's basically MCG suburb of Melbourne. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the suburbs I would hate to live in. I wouldn't want to live in them. I don't personally like Richmond as a suburb to live in, don't get me wrong. Some parts near Cremorne and the parts, I'd say, on the eastern side are much better than the parts near the Bronx public housing. There's just junkies everywhere. It's disgusting. I don't like it. But regardless of that, you wouldn't park your money right next to it, but parking your money in Richmond is one of the best suburbs long term. You have very high median income. People can afford higher rents there. Great capital growth. So it's a no-brainer, right? If you have that money and you like the inner city, it's a great suburb to buy. And there's a great areas to live here too if you like that inner city lifestyle. So, Brunswick East is a great one, for example. Fitzroy North's a really good one. All really, really good suburbs. You probably need about $950 to $1.3 minimum to buy here, but it's still affordable for most most professional. So really good suburbs in that. Now, the last one I want to get into, and I wouldn't call it primary, I'd say it's only partially, and I've put this here, is the Bayside, and I put in brackets partially. And the reason for that is because when Melbourne was locked down, especially you sort of say bubble, a lot of people actually moved to the Bayside, and there was actually quite a bit of demand, especially post-COVID, because of what happened. So there's some suburbs that have done 40 to 60% capital growth in the Bayside, believe it or not. And generally in a property market cycle, in a growth cycle, you get somewhere between 60 to 120% growth generally. Now, yes, you do get anomalies like this video is about, where you might get even more. So in Melbourne, for example, between about 97, 98 and 2008 to 2010, depending on the market, on average, it actually did about 150%, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to do that. I think it'll probably do upwards of 100% in this growth cycle. But even if you take the larger part and your suburb's done 60%, let's say you say 120%, that's 50% of the capital growth that has already been eaten up of the suburb. And also not only that too, but if it does less, it's even more of it that's already eaten up. So that's why I say it's only partially a primary, it's probably a secondary area, I'd say. There are primary suburbs I would consider here though. And they are mainly, I'd say, Moorabbin, Hampton East are good examples of that. Hyatt's another good one. Ripponlea, Elstonwick are pretty good as well. Brighton East is another one. Some parts of Sandringham, and Cheltenham's probably another one there too. Now, in saying this, it's not all parts of the suburb. You do need to be in the right pocket of the suburb. These are very underpriced though. I mean, like exceptionally underpriced, very good income there, great lifestyle. People want to live here. Pretty much everyone wants to live here. Great area for that.